Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, wherever you are. This story is extraordinary. And the reason why I'm saying extraordinary, it came out last year, August of last year, and I've only just seen it. And I'm just astounded by the unbelievable entitlement that these two harpies look at this one looks positively mentally disturbed, and look at the amount of makeup it's stacked on. This one, look at the lipstick, look at the makeup, just look at the state of the hair. Extensions, probably green hair, just looks a mess. Female witchsy, I think it's pronounced, founders use fictional male to beat sexism. Let's move on and get these faces out of the way. These two bitches are apparently a co-founder of a website, and basically what it is, they made up a male name, in because of the fact that apparently men didn't take it's not, I don't think it's a case of didn't take them seriously. I think it's a case of men are trying to avoid working with women. Let's read through this. Two silly bitches, US silly bitches, have revealed, this is a massive revelation, that they created an imaginary male co-founder to dodge sexism and make setting up their company easier. Now, listen to this, the emphasis on easier. It's all about making things easier for women. They can't be dealing with it having to work very, very hard to get to where they need to get to. You must, under every circumstance, make it easier for women to succeed. Because if you don't, you're a misogynist. You know, I mean, look at the situation with that big old bint. What's her name? Um, Serena Williams. God, I forgot her name, and quite rightly so. She's not well worth remembering. She came out with that she was that the umpire was sexist. You know, anything in order to make things easier for women. They allow on court coaching in other games for women, which is not, men don't have not had that, whereas women have, you know, coaching on court. The fact that women, when it gets hotter, apparently, so they can take a 10-minute break. I don't know, during sets or whatever it is. That's probably because Serena Williams bitched about it in Australia. It was so hot, she found it difficult to play tennis in that kind of heat. Because you're a big old unit. See, people like Federer and Andy Murray and all these people, they're fit men. But she could not play in that because she struggled, because she's too big. If she was playing the 5 sets that guys do, she would seriously struggle. Seriously struggle. Anyway, I digress. So these two bints, feminist lesbian slags of online art marketplace, witchsy, said male developers responded better to emails signed by Keith Mann. Here we go. They made up a name and they called it Keith Mann. Ah, the irony. I can't say it. Irony of it. Keith Mann. Wow. They responded faster and were less condescending, the entrepreneur said. Earlier this month, that was last year in 2017, a Google employee was fired by saying women were unsuited to tech. He didn't say that. That's James Damore, which is a blatant lie. He was saying in order to bring women into the tech field, there were things that he proposed and that they needed to change to bring women into the field. He was trying to put his feedback to help bring women into the field, into Google. The fact that there's 29%, probably going on to 30% of women in Google, is irrelevant. They don't want 29%. They don't want 50%. They want 70%. Just like in the National Health Service. 70, 80, 90, 85% of the National Health Service is made up of women. The care services, 95, 96%. No, 97%, I would say, is made up of females. Okay? But what they're trying to do is they want to try and take over what people would class as the soft industries, Silicon Valley, and make it a female environment. The memo, which suggested there were fewer women at Google due to biological differences, it's nothing to do with biological differences. It's to do with the fact that women are not are interested in tech in the same way as guys are. It doesn't mean that they can't do it. It just doesn't. They're not interested in it. So he was trying to suggest a way of making it easier for women to get into tech, because it's always about making it easier for women. We've got to make it easier for women. They mustn't work hard to get to the positions they want. It's got to be made easy for women. Really has got to be made easy. That's why the army, the standard to get into the army, you're supposed to carry, I don't know what it is, 80 kilos of 50 kilos, I think it is. Or is it a 30 kilo? No, a 30 kilo pack on your back. For women, it's cut down. Everything that women do, everything is cut down. When basketballs, I didn't realize, again, the basketball is smaller than the men's basketball. Why? Why do they have to do that? They play less time, apparently, on the basketball court is less than the men. I think it's a good 8 minutes. In athletics, the javelins are not as heavy as the men's. Tennis rackets are smaller than the men's. The ball is either smaller and not as hard, or something like that. I think it's one of the two, than the men's. Why? Why is it that the women are not using the same equipment as the men in tennis? What's going to happen if women get in when they do this women's Formula One, women's only Formula One, and then they bring them into the men's side? Are they going to have faster cars because they're women? I mean, what I'm saying, they will be allowed to have faster cars. Their cars will be made faster than the men's. This is the problem of women in coming into these. They don't want to do. They don't. I have no problem with women coming into if they do things on an equal basis. Why is it that women can't build their own football teams? With from women's money, but set up a women's game. For women, by women. No. Everything's got to be set up by men. The basketballs, NBA. The men's game, 7.4 billion is what it earns. The women's game, nobody knows the real figures because they refuse to release the real figures. But it's somewhere between 60 and 100 million. 60 and 100 million. And 12 million of that is from the NBA. Because the league would have gone tits up if they didn't put money into it. A number of the franchises have already keeled over. And then the women start bitching, saying, "Oh, look at the men's association. They've some of them are not making any money, but they're being propped up by the other team." Well, yeah, that's how it works. It's the same in football. That's none of your business anyway. What has it got to do with the women? If the NBA team is making 7 billion, there are some teams that are not making any money. What difference does it make to you? It's not your money. It's their money. They earned the money. But the women always believe whatever money men make belongs to women, regardless. But it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Look at football teams. Football teams now have to, well, they don't have to, but Manchester United did not have, they stopped funding the women's football team. Why should they fund it? Why shouldn't the women say, you know what, we're not going to have this. Thank you very much for supporting us. This was in 2006 when they stopped financing them. Thank you very much for supporting us. We will go and get sponsors. We will find a ground and we will have first female run football team. But no, they want, it's got to be that Manchester United has to fund them. I've already heard of complaints where the women's team saying they need more crowds, and the only way they can get more crowds is to play in the men's stadium. How are you going to do that? How are you going to do that? How are you going to play in the men's tournament? Because what they're basically saying is the men's tournament games will have to be reduced in order for women to be able to play in the stadiums. Why don't you build your own stadium and then you can do whatever you want? But they refuse to do that. They refuse to do that. Women will not do the work, put the effort in supporting their sport. It's always got to be men who've got to do it for them. And then when if they don't do enough for it, they bitch. The WNBA is an example of it. So here we go. The memo, which suggested there were fewer due to biological difference, broke the firm's code of conduct. The chief executive idiot of Google said, "Dumbass." The two bitches said they came up with the idea of Keith Man because they were struggling to get the services. Listen to this, because they were struggling to get the services they were entitled to from graphic designers and web developers. Wow. So these two bitches were so pissed off that, I mean, and is it any surprise that men don't want to do work for women? In this era of Me Too? Is it any surprise? But this is the thinking of these lesbian feminazi bitches. They are not interested. If you don't provide the services for them, you are a misogynist. They will bring out that old chestnut every single time. You're a misogynist. I can't. You are a misogynist. You will not provide me. And the point is, these companies, a lot of people, are very much independent people, and yet they expect them to provide services for them. Why didn't they find or look for female web designers and developers? There's loads of them out there. Why do you cut? Why is it important that you go with these guys? Because they are probably the best. Potential collaborators in the male-dominated tech world were slow to reply and sometimes rude. Who gives a fuck if they were rude? They're entitled to be rude. You're not entitled to their time. You're not entitled to their time. This is another case of the gay man going into a baker's that he knows is a Christian and basically demanding, or the two gay men demanding, or no, expecting him to make this cake to support gay marriage. Or I think it was the two characters out of Sesame Street, who everybody says were gay. And the man said, look, I'm sorry, I can't make this cake for you, but I can offer anything else in the shop, maybe a plain one that you can decorate yourself. No. These two entitled fucks decided to try and sue this gentleman. But they lost their case. Went up to the Supreme Court in America. And the Christian man won. Praise be to God. And the two nasty faggots lost. Which I'm very happy about. Very happy about. One of them said, I left that shop and I went in my car and I cried. He cried because he was a big fucking baby. But he was also entitled. He believes that he was entitled to that man's service, even though he made custom cakes to order, even though he refused orders from other people who wanted certain things on, but he would not do. He stated he wouldn't make cakes with Halloween images or anything to do with Halloween. Refused point blank. Why didn't these people go and sue him? Because of that. They probably would do if they could think of a way. 4 years that case, I think, has gone on. 4 or 5. Is it 5 years? I think 5 years. 2012. Those two bastards need to be made to pay all the money. They need to be paid, forced to pay that money back for what it took for the case. They need to pay his costs. But I bet you, because he's a Christian, he will forgive those two evil bastards. Even what they put him through. This is the problem with today. You've got evil, nasty characters who are entitled and believe that they should be served at all times. That's the problem that we've got today. Let us continue. The responses were cold. And we were not taken seriously. That is the crux of it. My God, gentlemen, if you don't take women seriously, you are in, pardon the pun, was it a pun? I don't know. Serious trouble. Serious trouble. If you never take a woman serious, you are in big trouble in the Me Too era. Holy sweet Christmas. The feminazis are going to make sure they try and roast your nuts over an open fire. The feminazis are going full guns out blazing to destroy the male in America, in Britain, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Israel. They're going all out. Men's purpose today is to be subservient to women. The feminazis want, from what they don't want an equal society. They want a society where they are the matriarchs of this society, and men will be so subdued and subservient to women. They want that to last for 150,000 years before they can even talk about equality. That's what they want. But I think there's going to be a war before that. Seriously, there will be a war. Unless something is done to make things as equal as they should be. You know, at some point or other, guys are going to say, you know what? They're going to wake up and see exactly what women are. They're going to realize that they're going to say, you know what? You aren't as beautiful as you try and make out to be. Because without the makeup, you're fucking shit. Seriously. There are a lot of women out there, if it wasn't for the makeup, nobody would be, not even other lesbians would be interested in them. Well, maybe, you know, the butch ones would be. You know, the butch ones. So, at the end of the day, I think, sorry, I'm just doing something. I'm trying to think as well as do it at the same time. But yeah, you must take them seriously. Otherwise, you're in serious big trouble. She said, adding, developers didn't use our names in their emails. One used the term, okay, girls. Because you don't know what the emails said. It'd be interesting to see how they contacted these developers and spoke to them. Because we're not getting the full story. We're getting their story, one side, and their story only. Why don't we hear the other side? Hear the developers? Maybe they'll give us a different story to how these bitches perhaps dealt with them or spoke to them. There's always two sides to a story. Remember that, people. Things changed when fictional Keith Mann began signing their correspondence with a certain level of assertiveness. Keith would chase things up. This is what these two bitches, these stupid, deranged bitches, are doing. Trickery. This is the way that you know, the underhandness of some women's behaviour. You know, men, wake up. You need to wake up. Do you honestly believe that that girl you're going with really truly loves you? No. She loves what you are potentially able to offer her, especially if you've got money. She's not interested in you. If you have a personality, that is a bonus. But she'd rather be flicking some other female's bean. And in 20 years, many women won't even come near you that would potentially have come to you, because they would go off and flick other women's beans. So, but hopefully by that time, we will have fairly realistic androids similar to Blade Runner. Now that will definitely piss off the feminist movement. You see, look at the feminist movement. Look at Germaine Greer, one of the stalwarts of feminism, made the statement that trans people are not true women, or trans women are not real women. So, which I agree with. But for the feminist movement to come out with that, and I've heard loads of other feminists come out with the same thinking, because they work like herds. It's because what you do by saying that a man who was born a man can now walk around with a dress on, lipstick, a wig, or if you're lucky to have your own hair, and size 13 high heel shoes, can now proclaim himself to be a woman, doesn't have a vagina, that's irrelevant. He feels like a woman, therefore he must be called a woman. Aesthetically, he's a geezer, 6'4", hands like shovels, but he's wearing I don't know what, a Chanel suit, skirt, and stockings, to hide his hairy legs. No, I mean, it's just complete nonsense. So the feminists have been at loggerheads with the trans world over that statement, and because they don't want people coming into their territory and wanting to benefit from affirmative action. And remember, affirmative action has benefited white females in America, in the UK, and other parts of the Western world. Affirmative action, the people who have benefited from affirmative action the most have been white women. Keith would chase up things. You guys said this would be done. What's the status? I wouldn't even, say something like that to when I've never done that. I mean, I'm waiting for someone to pay me quite a bit of money, and I'll chase them up, I'll email them, hi, haven't received any payment yet. Do you know when that will be? Thanks. That kind of thing. You guys said this would be done. What's the status? You'd be when you're chasing somebody up, you give them a number of chances to sort the situation out. If a guy spoke to me like that, it would be I would respond in kind. I would respond back. So I just made a sale on eBay. Brilliant. So it's good to get these phones out, make a little bit of money. It's nice to make cash. Anyway, so but anyway, I wouldn't respond in that way. I don't think many. I mean, only a twat of a guy would respond really badly to when they're chasing out things. The responses were pretty speedy, said the bitch. She said that Keith was addressed by name and that there was a notable difference in tone and kind of level of comfort. A kind of level of comfort in dealing with Keith. I mean, I find it, my personal view is I think that's a load of shite. I had a lady contacted me via email asking me whether I do data points. And I said, yes, hello. Yes, we do data points. How can we help you? What's the problem? Oh, and she responded that there was a fault with the data point. Would you be able to fix it? Yes, we can do that for you. Hello? If you're dealing with certain, it doesn't matter what kind of cash you're dealing with. If you're going to respond to somebody, men or women, where you've got a potential to make money, hello? You're not going to mess that up by being silly. You know, men and women go to work in this today's society. How you behave to each other is the problem. And I believe that women today feel that they're entitled to more than what they're worth. Plain and simple. Do the things we need. If women are that more intelligent than men, okay, build up these businesses and get them working and run them for 20 or 30 years and sustain them. Because that's how businesses, big men, look at Mr. Sir Green, who made Lucy's um, night ship in the UK. He's been classed as a bully. He's rude to people. He's stuff. Yeah, because the geezer's got big balls, and that's the reason why he's a billionaire. Gordon Ramsay has been abusive to people, shouts and screams. But Sir Green, they don't like because he's a billionaire. He's a man, self-made man that got to where he is. He doesn't take any nonsense. Everybody knows that businessmen are under massive pressure to run their businesses, and they won't take nonsense. Philip Green is one of those businessmen, and it's because he's been successful that people don't like the fact that he's that successful. He's worked his bollocks off to get to where he is, and so now they're looking at every which way to drag and pull this guy down by his nuts. She said that Keith, oh, sorry, I've already said that. But rather than these silly little bitches getting angry, these two bitches used Keith to make progress on their startup, now a year old and profitable. So these developers, who are clearly very talented, proper geezers, they could not make profit without these men. Could not make profit. In its first year, witchsy has sold about 200,000 of offbeat and dark humoured art from a number of artists who receive 80% of the purchase price, its founders say. The name, which is witchsy, originated after the two became frustrated and annoyed with the banning of witchcraft related items by online retailer, Bitch said. So let's see. I don't, here in the UK, we don't know. I've never used them. I don't know. Let's have a look. There is a UK branch. So let's see who founded it. Right. Okay. It's an eBay type company. Been going for 13 years. 2005. Here we go. Etsy is an e-commerce website focused on handmade or vintage items and supplies, as well as unique factory manufactured items. These items cover a wide range, including art, photograph, clothing, jewellery, food, bath and beauty products. Oh, quilts, knickknacks and toys. Many sellers also sell craft supplies such as beads, wire, and jewelry making tools. All vintage items must be at least 20 years old. The site follows in the tradition of open craft fairs, giving sellers personal shop fronts where they list their goods for a fee of 0.20 cents, I suppose, or dollar per item. As of December 30th of 2014, I can't pronounce the word, ETSY had 54 million users registered as members, and the online marketplace for handmade and vintage goods connected 1.4 million active sellers with 19.8 million active buyers. So so let's just quickly, the site was launched in 2005 by IO Space, a small company composed of Robert Kalin, Chris Maguire, and Haim. Oh Jesus, I can't pronounce that name. School Pocket. The initial version had taken 2.5 months to build. Later, Gerard Tarbell joined the team. Former NPR executive Maria Thomas joined as COO in 2008, was promoted to CEO, and then she left in 2009. So said he named the site whatever it is because he wanted a no-nonsense name word, because I wanted to build the brand from scratch. I was watching 8.5 and what's that? Oh, a 1960s serial film. Okay. In Italy, you say it's a lot. It means, oh yes, Etsy. Actually, it's E-E-C. And in Latin and French, it means what if. Well, Italian is Latin, isn't it? Okay, so that is what the company set up by three geezers. Chris could be Christine. Yeah, Chris could be Christine. Oh, here we go, lawsuits. But the point and the fact of the matter is that, you know, this is a company that was set up by geezers. Why couldn't these two bitches do the same? You know, set up their own company and make it big. Because these two bitches feel that men are at their disposal. And when they need to use men, men should be ready and waiting for these women, regardless. Rather than getting on and sort of accepting the situation, whatever situation they want to accept. I personally believe we don't hear the full story. They're just telling you what they want to do. Remember, these are lesbian feminist witches, so they will lie with impunity to get whatever they want. Remember that. So, in getting their business off the ground, however, she said they both felt scrutinized. What the fuck is that? What would you mean scrutinized? There's just not a lot of women in tech. There is such male dominance. So the fact there isn't a lot of women in tech and it's dominated by men who they needed to use because they couldn't find any bitches to do their web designing website for them, or their graphic design, or maybe they could, but maybe they couldn't quite trust them to do the business. So they went for the best. Oh, hold on a minute. Which happens to be male. In an interview with Fast Company magazine, said bitch said that her experience was clearly just part of this world that we are in right now. Yes, we're in the Me Too bastard era. The Me Too bastard era. That's what we're in. The evil Me Too era. She said that while the introduction of Keith Mann, look at that, Keith Mann. Oh, fantastic, isn't it? How ingenious all these women helped this witchcrafty bollocks to materialize. The ultimate goal is for a change in people's attitudes. 1984, people. That's what these bitches want. They want 1984. If we're not careful, it will get here because we've already started. It's already started. Men, you need to understand you are under attack. Anything that you do is not appreciated. Plain and simple. Plain and simple, gentlemen. It's unfortunate that we had to invent keys to make progress because you couldn't find any bitches, web designers or developers. You couldn't find them. Why is that? Why aren't there more women? Female developers, web developers or graphic designers? It's very strange because I would have thought there would have been. I thought there would have been a perfect art thing for women to be doing, sitting down and on a computer and doing coding. Why don't we see more women doing that? Extraordinary. It's unfortunate that we had to invent Keith to make progress, but no one would get on board. Sorry, I just have to laugh. That's funny. Because these are such entitled bitches. Such entitled bitches. Nobody wanted to work with them. I wonder why. Maybe, is it because they're a bunch of feminist, lesbian, witch hags? That's probably, maybe because they've got a bit of an attitude. Big attitude. Let me tell you a story. When I was working for the company that I used to work for, telecoms company, and I used to be on the fault desk for the broadband section, broadband installation and repair. And I only did it for a month, but I quite enjoyed it. I would have liked to have done that as for a couple of years. It's nice being indoors in the warmth. You get to have your lunch at set times, able to go to the wee toilet. But I ended up going out into the field nearly getting caught a couple of times when I needed to go for a pee because I wasn't used, seriously, wasn't used to. I mean, I used to do 7 jobs a day, and you're running around and you're drinking water or orange juice or whatever. Then suddenly you get caught. I need to use the toilet, and I used to have to dart into McDonald's or any other place that you could go in without or find a tree. In the countryside, it was actually not a problem. I was able to drive, pull over, in a lay-by, and then find a tree, go for a quick pee. It helped, thank God, in the countryside. Just in the city, it was a problem when you need to use the toilet. So, yeah, when you're out and about in your van, um, funny, it's in the end, I had to get a bottle. Literally, honestly. There was one time I had to get a bottle, and I thought I went into a lake down a road, and there was a little end, and so I got the bottle, and I was able to pee while sitting in the car, looking around to see if anyone was watching me. Um, it was very very difficult when you needed to find somewhere to go for a pee. But anyway, yeah. So getting back to this, um, she said, the bitch said, adding that the services of developers were necessary to get their site up and running. So let me just go through this again. This is quite interesting. It's unfortunate that we had to invent, Keith, trickery, because that's what witches do, to make progress, but no one would get on board until we showed them what we were doing. Nobody wanted to get on board because they knew that 2 American lesbian feminists were going to try and make their, give them so much hassle. Let me give you an example. I didn't finish off this example that I gave before. Oh, sorry, yeah, I forgot to finish off this. What I was saying about being on the front desk. So I was on the front desk for 1 month, and my job was to contact customers that were having problems with their broadband or their line. And so I'd look on the database and see what the progress was in regards to whether an engineer went to site or not, because you couldn't always see the information wasn't always there. So that's why you bring up and see whether they'd come to site or not, and then you would then be able to chase it up with the other department to find out when would an engineer come out, and then you could get back to the customer and say, "Oh, engineers come out to you this afternoon. I've just spoke to them, and he's on his way, and hopefully he'll be there sometime today," just to try and give the customer some hope of progress. So I'd phoned up a number of numbers that day, and no problem. A few were, yeah, I've been out for 3 days. I don't know what's going on. My business is, it's a problem. Then you'd phone up, find out why the engineer's not there, and then you get a report. Oh, the engineer's going out this afternoon. Customer hadn't been informed, so you get back to them and say, right, I've been told an engineer's coming out to you today. I've got your number. I'll give you a ring back in a couple of hours to see if he's definitely turned up, and if he hasn't, I'll chase him up again. And they appreciated that. They, oh, thanks, someone's doing something for them. So I spoke to this American woman, and I got nothing but attitude, serious attitude. And you try and be as professional as you possibly can, but there comes a point where you say enough's enough in your mind, and you said, and she just basically said, because I said to her, yeah, look, an engineer will be with you this afternoon. Hopefully he'll be there this afternoon. And which point she said, I'm not looking for hopefully, I expect someone to be here today. And I said, Madame, you can't use or talk to me in that kind of language. She said, I can talk to you how I want. I said, really? Okay, and put the phone down. Now, a few of the guy colleagues had listened to it, me having this altercation with this woman, and my mate said to me, he was sitting next to me, he said, did you put the phone down? I said, yeah. Well, I said, what's the problem? He said, oh, you might get into trouble. I said, really? How? She can't see the number. She couldn't see the number to ring back or to chase up the company I was with, because it was number withheld. But I've dealt with 5 American women in my time, and all of them have been complete and total assholes. Complete and total assholes. They are horrible people to deal with. I'm sorry, especially here in the UK. You see you really do see how nasty and entitled white American women are. I've dealt with American guys, and I've never been spoken to or in that kind of way. When I used to work in the city, a lot of the American guys I dealt with are really cool guys. Hey, long time no see, how are you? And you'd have a really good chit chat. I think there's a couple of, I think 3 or 4 American guys in the city I used to see regularly, because on the dealer boards or in offices. Great guys, but the women were complete and total bastards. One time I had to walk out on a job. I went there to do a survey. It was on something like the 12th floor. And I walked in with my tool bag and I said, good morning. I've come to do a survey on where to install your. Oh, no, I said, I've come to do a survey. And because it was quite a few years ago, but I came there to do a survey where to position the system on the where it was going to be in the wall, in a cupboard, in a room, and how many extensions, where they were going to, where position of the extensions. So I came to the front desk, and behind the front desk were 2 women. One of them was a blonde white woman. The other one was a brunette white woman. And the white woman was an American woman. And the way she spoke was just, we have been waiting 3 weeks for this telephone system to be installed. And we've had no correspondence from anybody, etc. And she just went on in that manner. And I just stood there and I was just looking at this lunatic talking. Now, to my right, there was a glass wall with and a glass door. So instead of it being, a brick wall or a plasterboard wall with a door, it was just glass from one end of the wall to the other. So, and in there I could see a gentleman with his back to me. He was sitting down with his back. So it was a meeting room, conference room type of thing, and he was on his own in there. But I could see he turned his head slightly in my direction, but didn't look at me, because I looked at him. I turned and looked at him, but he didn't look at me. He was just listening to what was being said. So then I looked back at this mad woman. Then I looked at the other woman, the brunette, and she was standing there with a smirk on her face. I don't know if she's had I think no, she was just standing there, and there was a smirk on her face. And I looked back at this woman, and suddenly I heard her say, "Are you not going to take notes?" And I just said, "No." And then she carried on talking nonsense about, well, I think that's unprofessional. I'm giving you the issues, that problems we've got, and we need this sorted out. And I just looked at this woman talking shit, and I just picked up my bag, turned to my left, opened the door, which was a glass door, and then got in the lift and just left. And I got back to the office. I wrote up a report of everything that happened and sent it to the manager and via email. I thought, stuff them, let them do whatever they bloody want. And then I think about a couple of days, she must have complained or something, obviously, because I walked out. I just walked out, didn't say a word, just picked up my bag and walked out. So I got to the office, and then he contacted my manager, contacted me. He was a sitting manager, but he contacted me. He said, listen, mate, after he'd gone down there with my mate, another engineer who was a Christian, he went there with him, and they both apparently stood there listening to this woman who again tried to she bent their ears, and they accepted it. And he just said to me, listen, mate, that bitch of a woman needs a good rogering. And we both laughed because she was a nasty bitch. But the guy who went with him, he's a good guy, he's a Christian, and he just accepted a lot of nonsense that people would give. And because he always talked about his faith and how it helped him to keep calm and to deal with people and to forgive people. Because unfortunately, he had a bit of a breakdown at one time. He found life difficult to cope with. So at one time, and I worried about him, whether what was. And but he got over it, and it's because of his faith. Kudos to him that he was able to not be one of those 80% statistics of men committing suicide, which is just way too much, man. Way too much. But anyway, so that's my other story about the entitlement and the behaviour of white American females. And this is an example of that, So let me read this again, because I think this is really, all this is really everything in a nutshell of the unbelievable entitlement of white American women. It's unfortunate that we had to invent Keith to make progress, but no one would get on board. No one would get on board. Remember, there is always two sides to a story. Always two sides to a story. Until we could show them what we were doing, said silly bitch. Adding that the services, again, remember, of developers were necessary to get their site up and running. So because they couldn't get what they wanted, they couldn't build it themselves, they couldn't develop it themselves, they couldn't find any female developers, they couldn't find any female graphic designers. Seriously? I doubt that. I think she couldn't find good quality, the best of the best, because they may have gone to female graphic designers, they may have gone to developers, but they weren't up to scratch. That's what they don't want to tell you. They weren't up to scratch. Not saying they can't do the job, of course they can do the job, but they weren't up to scratch. Adding that the services of developers was necessary to get their site up and running. Without these geezers, just like society, okay, 99% of the power industry is run by men. Electricity, gas. 97% of electricians, certainly in the UK, are men. I've yet to meet one female electrician. I'm just trying to think. Maybe have I met? No, I don't think I did. When I worked for my telecoms company, I met 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 women who were engineers. 2 of those women ended up in the office after a couple of years working in the admin. One of them I will give. She did work as a repair engineer, and the other one was a repair engineer as well. Oh no, she was she provided circuits, private circuits, and she decided to woman-splain to me about systems and whatever. I don't know why, because I never asked her to, but I just got this feeling that she was trying to somehow state to me she knew what she was doing. She knows how to do this. It's like I wasn't telling you you couldn't do the job. Maybe from my looks, I mean, I think sometimes perhaps if I see a woman as an engineer carrying tools, it is a little bit unusual because you don't see it every day. But it doesn't mean that I don't think they can't do the job. It's just unusual. But that's not my fault. It's just the way it is, you know. Anyway, so and now that the business is established, we can throw Keith in the bin. That's what she's saying. She has now achieved what she wants, just like divorce. When the women get everything they want, the kids, the house, enough money from their husbands, ex-husbands, they're satisfied, and you're resigned to the bin. And they can carry on going looking for another boyfriend or girlfriend and flicking the bean, and you in the meantime are having to pay for her lifestyle, even though the both of you have divorced. Now you are both left. It doesn't matter. You are disposable. Men, and this is the point. Keith Man is disposable. This is what the Me Too has produced. I mean, look at this nonsense here. Look at this. These are women here who go to cosplay. I've never seen it, and look at how they dress. Who is forcing these women to dress like this? Could someone tell me? Is it men? Are men forcing these women to dress like this? How do they make their money? Very interesting subject to cover. I'll run that one, have a look at that and see how they make their money. Very interesting. Anyway, listen. If people can spread this, men, you need to listen to what I've said here because this is very important. You're not appreciated. This is an example. Doesn't matter how these guys suppose they're private companies, private people. They can offer their service to whoever they want. Okay, they can offer their service to whoever they want. If you can't find people to offer your service for you, build your own network. Learn how to be a graphic designer, developer, that kind of thing. You're not entitled to anybody's services. It's disgraceful. Anyway, thanks for listening.